Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted we're joined with Poppy with her fantastic documentary, Women, Life, Freedom, Athlete, Abuse. Let's take a look at the clip.
چهل و چند ساله که جمهوری اسلامی در مبارزه با سه کلمه است. چهل و چند ساله که مسئولان جمهوری اسلامی تمام توانشون رو گذاشتن تا با سه کلمه مبارزه کنن. چهل و چند ساله که گفتن سه کلمه در جمهوری اسلامی تبعات داره برای همه، چه مرد چه زن. چهل و چند ساله که ما نمیتونیم بگیم زن زندگی آزاد.
Poppy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the New Filmmakers Los Angeles family, and most importantly, thank you for making such a very, very extraordinary documentary that the whole world needs to see. For those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me into the New Filmmakers LA family. This is my very first short documentary, so I'm very excited to share the message. I used to be the former national news anchor in Iran, but I initially moved to Iran when I was in my late teens, and I was hired as a sport journalist. That being said, I'm a girl from New York City, so I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So when I was taken to Iran and hired as a sport journalist, I saw from up close everything that happened, and I quickly came to understand that I couldn't say what I was witnessing. And it was very disturbing because I grew up here and I watched the NBA with my dad, and I watched the NFL, and I watched hockey, and I never thought that in Iran, the male athletes, especially the female athletes, went through what they were going through. So fast forward, when Women, Life, Freedom hit in September of 2022, it's like a voice said in my head, this is the time for you to tell this story. And I never thought that I personally had the courage and vulnerability to tell it. So I called a lot of the, not a lot, just some of the Olympic athletes that I knew they were in exile and I knew they had escaped Iran. And I said, if I really make this documentary, would you guys go on record? Would you share your story? And it's fascinating that with the stuff that we were seeing globally, the Women, Life, Freedom movement, and all the abuse and torture that the regime was imposing on the females, and then we saw a couple of athletes speak out. You know, the rock climber Nazar Kabi, she went and performed without her hijab, and then they put her under house arrest. They took her cell phone, they immediately brought her back to Iran and then put her under house arrest. So all of this really frustrated all of us, you know, me as former sport journalist, them former Olympic athletes, and they said yes, and that's when we started creating this documentary. And honestly, Danny, it was one of the best decisions for me to make it, because when I was hearing their story, I only knew 30% of it. As a journalist, I never knew the rest of the 70% that happened to them. I was shocked. So I'm very happy we brought it to the big screen.
It's, I mean, amazing. Thank you so much for shedding light on this, not just for, you know, the viewers here today at New Filmmakers LA, but, you know, in and around the world. And I think it takes a lot of courage for you to step out of your zone. I mean, the Iranian people are such a special nation and a wonderful country, and I've got many of us live here in Los Angeles who either are from Iran or families from Iran. And to shed light on this is not only an important story for that community, but for the rest of the world to know what some of these athletes have gone through. As you said, you know, you only knew 30%, and I know as a journalist, you know, myself, you want to know everything that's going on, but it's shock horror when you find out just the lengths that people have had to go to and how much that affects them, because here you have people that want to win for their country, they want to do the right thing, they want to be part of this, you know, wonderful sport that they're involved in, and their restrictions or the things they have to go through is horrifying. What was it like for you to kind of switch gears and from being, you know, the spokesperson of Iran, and then being on the other side, finding out their depth of their story, and also elaborating your trust with your subjects as well?
Right, so as a journalist, the number one factor was the safety and the trust. And
Yeah.
the trust was somehow, because I was a very young girl working at IRIB at that time, they somehow knew me. They somehow knew my ethic and values because we worked with each other. I was at IRIB for about 2.5 years before I was terminated. So they knew me, and I was a developing young woman, plus I was a developing journalist at the time. I did not go to journalism school at the time. I wanted to become, my road of life was different, and then things put me into the journalism path, which I'm very grateful for. So the trust was developed, and when I contacted them, I didn't have to go back and forth because they knew me, they knew who I was, they knew, my work and the way I gave them the assurance that I'm not going to say what you don't want me to say. I'm not here to make a profit off of this.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell your story. I'm affected as an Iranian American, and you're affected. And every time that I watch this, it really, breaks my heart to say that, what can I do as the part of the diaspora? So a lot of the elements were already kind of taken care of when I approached them. And, it was like, I missed you kind of a conversation. Tell me more. And then after that, they said, can I want to say this. And then, there were really hard moments because I was also a friend at that time. And as a friend, there were a lot of breakdowns, and, obviously it was very hard going through those Zooms, and it was COVID. So we weren't meeting face to face. So it was all on Zoom. And, I also, as, a friend, from a professional journalist to a friend of these individuals, my heart broke for them that they were going through mental trauma.
Yeah.
The abuse is still living inside of them.
Yeah. I want to say a big thank you to all of the people that you had involved that were brave enough to come forward and share their story. It's not easy, but I really think that you were certainly the right person that they could, embrace their trust in. They've all individually been from quite a journey, and you had quite a plethora of different people with different situations. Was that a surprise to you that not only were these sports stars going through this, they all had very different circumstances and very different examples of being held back in a certain way to be allowed to be their authentic self as an athlete?
It was so challenging for them because in Iran, you have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And I had to wear a mask as a journalist, that I'm very Islamic, and, I was not. I had to wear that mask. And them as an athlete, because they have coaches, they do camps, they do qualifying matches before they get into the Olympics. And then when they go into the Olympics, they travel with the morality police. So the morality police is with them. So it's like having someone look at you all the time to make sure that you're not talking with, if you're a girl, you're not talking with this guy. And if you're a guy, you're not looking at that girl. Or you're not, if you're in a restaurant, you're not eating what you're not supposed to be eating, which includes maybe pork or maybe having a glass of wine. Yeah. Because that's immediate elimination. So it was, I knew all of this stuff, but even this stuff wasn't, it was that was surface level because we knew all of that. The stuff that you see in this documentary, for example, I never knew that the woman that carried the flag, she was not giving proper shoes on the field. They did not purchase a proper pair of shoes for her. She had holes in her shoes. This is the person that's representing a country.
Yeah, and what does that say, Yeah. I think one of the things that I really appreciated watching, the way you styled documentaries, it really came through, there wasn't, you weren't just reporting what's going on. It really came through a very empathetic lens. Also, as an Iranian American, you can truly understand and be in the position of understanding their particular perspective as well. I really love the way that you just had these conversations. It was just, you could feel they really trusted you to kind of, share these stories with you. What did you kind of, what was the biggest challenge for you in making this? I'm sure there was many along the way, but what was that for you in making this particular film? Because it's obviously really influenced your own life as well.
Yeah, I think, I think the biggest obstacle, I'm a go-getter, and
Yeah.
if I decide to do something, it's unstoppable at that point.
It's your power.
Yeah, it's like, I have to make this, and these were not only Olympic athletes, but these are people that, again, they had invited me into their homes. And so, it was my first time doing a documentary.
I can't believe you.
Right.
I'm like, you look like you've done 25 million, you know?
So I read so much, and I went to this website and that website, and I would call my friends that are in the movie business, and I said, so if I want to do this, and they would give me guidelines to do it, and so they really helped me on how to make a 20-minute documentary and the elements, and because this is a shorter version. So that was one obstacle. Another obstacle was, sometimes there was fear going in and out of me. And when I interviewed them, they would say, we're cyber attacked, Poppy. We just got cyber attacked like 2 months ago. They said, you better shut your mouth, or else we're gonna attack you, and you're gonna find the body of so-and-so in the trash. And then
goodness.
I would get scared, and then I would meditate in the morning, and there was always a voice saying, go forward, because if that would be the domino effect, then nothing would change.
Yeah.
And as a journalist covering other stories, I always knew, I always wish people would speak up more.
Yeah.
And tell their truth. So that would go in and out, and then I would, watch a little Oprah, and I would get it back together, and I would be like, I got this. I'm gonna go forward with this.
Yeah.
And I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist for a very long time, but I'm also a human being at the core of it. And these individuals were Olympic athletes, but at the core of it, they are also human beings. They have families, they have sisters, they have mothers. And that hurt me when that hurt me significantly. And so when the Zoom was over, I used to be in tears. I used to, shed a little tear here and there. And I said, okay, I've shed it, and now I'm going to move forward with it again.
Yeah.
It's not easy because I believe just today, the longtime prisoner who was a rapper was released today. And this individual went through immense torture. And I personally, I felt for him, but immense torture. I mean, words are not a very strong vehicle for me to even tell you, but
Yeah.
they're ruthless. And I was, as a teenager, I was arrested by the morality police, so I know the exact fear that went through Massa's body, because it went through my body as well. And they're merciless. So nonetheless, these were all the obstacles.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
obstacles are good.
Yeah.
Obstacles are good because you have this thing that this is an obstacle and there's a solution on the other side.
Well, let's not underestimate your challenges, because the things that you've overcome to make this film are far greater than the average film. And I think there's a lot of people that are extremely grateful for allowing these voices to be heard. I mean, I can't imagine what this experience was like, but what has it been like sharing this film with an audience, and what's the reaction been like?
Danny, we've done 5 screenings so far. And the amount of community conversation and engagement that it has developed one of the screenings that we did, we had a member of the Olympic Committee in the audience, which I was not aware of. And now this has traveled all the way up to, obviously they don't have control over what Iran does, but they do have control over the athletes that are the Iranian former Olympic athletes that are currently competing under the Olympic refugee flag.
Unbelievable.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is a difference that I can make. I may not be able to make a difference in Iran, but hopefully nothing has happened as of this conversation, but it is moving. It is moving through the veins of change.
Yeah, well, thanks to you being that important voice, and I think we can't underestimate the impact and power that you're creating and the conversation that you're creating, not just nationally but internationally as well. Like, we need you. This is your first documentary. I can't wait for many more of yours because your voice is so powerful. But what is next for you, Poppy?
Thank you. And let me just reiterate that it's thanks to me, but it's really a cohesive effort. So I have to give Kesra, Parisa, Masood, and Saeed, they're the heroes of the documentaries.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Yeah, it's a team. What's next? So we have a 90-minute feature documentary.
Amazing.
So I decided to step it up a bit. So this documentary will focus on how the Islamic regime uses news anchors and TV personalities to falsify and censor information. And it's so fascinating, Danny, that every interview I do leads me into a mysterious ground that I have not known about, and another person that has a story to tell that I didn't even know about. Wow. So it started off as that, and now it's like trickling into other stuff, which is fascinating. And I don't think the world knows about it. So that is, we started shooting, we just came back from London, and the sources are all spread out. So we're on our way to making that right now. And I think that's gonna be what's really, what I'm really hoping for will make that change, because there's a hole in this regime right now, and I intend to make full use of that opportunity.
This is amazing. I'm so excited for your feature version. I'm so excited where it's led you to and going to keep on leading to you as well. I just want to finalize, we do have a filmmaking audience, and I'm sure a lot of people have been very impacted by the stories you shared today, and amazed also by your determination, your ability to actually just believe in the impossible. What is your drive every day as a journalist, as a filmmaker, as a human being? What drives you that could maybe influence other people to get their stories out there too?
I think in this particular case, it's really creating a change in someone's life, and really, helping somebody and spreading the love. As I grow older on my personal journey and my professional journey, I really feel that love is not something to be gained and given, it's something that is. And we have to understand that it is. And so every night that I put my head on my pillow, I have a gratitude journal next to my bed, and I write the things that I'm grateful for. And one of the things one of my things was, thank you for NewFilmmakers LA for bringing, it's a cohesive effort, and my thing is to spread this awareness, and really make a change in someone's life. For example, if I make a change in any of these Olympic athletes that are currently in exile, I will feel that I have done my duty. I have fulfilled my mission.
Yeah.
And if with the new 90-minute feature, if that could create any kind of change, that I could see a young girl walking on the streets of Iran one day, freely, able to express herself, whether she's Jewish or Baha'i or of the LGBTQ community or has this particular view, that would make me feel so fulfilled and happy.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it. You're really doing it, and it's amazing to see, and I'm very excited for what the future unfolds of the feature and many more stories that you will share. But thank you so much for women, life, freedom, athlete, abuse. 5 very, very important words, and once you've watched the documentary, you'll realize the connotations behind that and how important that is to this story. But thank you, Poppy, for you. I really appreciate you, and we're looking forward to seeing many more of your films, so thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you and the whole team at NewFilmmakers LA, really. Everybody here in this room today included.
Thank you, Poppy, everybody.